Hello everybody, we're back with vinyl on our Aurora German Gotha G5, the London bomber. This was a kit from 1976, I believe was the copyright on it. As a refresher, this was a kit I won in the raffle at the IPMS show in St. Louis back in September, so about a month ago, a little over a month ago, and we've got her done. It's a 1/48 scale World War I bomber, and the wingspan is over 19.5 inches, which is huge for a 1/48 scale model aircraft, and especially for a World War I aircraft. It was huge. It was, as you can see, it's a twin engine pusher prop bomber with a crew of 3. You had your front gunner, an observer, and probably slash bombardier, I'm assuming, and you had your pilot there, and you had a rear gunner in the back. I'll have to move this one to show you the rear end of the plane here in a minute, because I can't, it's too big to where it's at. If I have it far enough forward to clear the back, then I can't get it in the camera frame. So here we go. Well, just pick it up and do it this way. See, there's our, we'll tighten it on him a little bit. There he is, hanging out in the back there. He looks like he's cold. The things on either side of him, those are guards to protect him from the prop exploded, to help protect his upper torso from being hit by pieces of the prop. The paint is Vallejo. I custom mixed my colors, and then did about 3 different shades of colors to get this particular color. I originally wanted to do this with the lozenge pattern, camo pattern, but in order to paint that by hand was going to be too big of a job, and because of the size of the wings I was going to have to buy 4 sets of decals, which have been close to $50 to do that for the pre-printed decals. So we went with the standard green scheme. The decals you're seeing are all the kit decals, so they're 47 years old. I just gave them a quick light spray of TS13, which is a clear lacquer, on the sheet before I used them, about 2 hours before I put them on. And I only had 1 decal tear, and that was my fault, not the decal's fault. So those worked out really well. We used rigging line for the rigging for most of it. Some of it was done with guitar string, but I didn't have enough guitar string to do the whole thing, so we had to use rigging line for part of it. If it wasn't for I didn't feel like waiting, I should have gone with guitar string for the whole thing, because it just works better than the thread, and then the thread gets fuzzy and furry and doesn't look quite as good as the guitar string does. And guitar string is a little easier to work with too, because it doesn't sag as much as the string does. You don't have a harder time making it look tight. I'll raise it up here. Actually, just tip it over. We did the bottom in the light blue, which is a normal German color for the bottom of the aircraft. And this hole in the bottom here was so that the gunner could shoot at targets or aircraft approaching from underneath. So you can see there's a hole in the top where he could poke his gun down through. Some of the Gothas actually had a second gun mounted down here in here that that gunner could crouch down and shoot the lower gun instead of the one on top. So this is a decent model, and other than the rigging and the sheer size, everything worked out well on it. The kit was used when I got it. Say I got it at the raffle, and I don't know if I lost it. There was one part missing. I don't know if I lost it or if it was already gone, but it was easy enough to make. It was just one of the struts, support struts for it, and I just made one out of built it out of sheet styrene, and it worked out just fine. If you didn't know which one it was, you'd never be able to tell. What else do we want to say about it? Say it was cool. A cool bird. It's kind of out of my wheelhouse. I don't do a whole lot of biplanes to begin with, and very little World War I models. It's just not really my time period. I'm more of a World War II Pacific War type enthusiast for the aircraft from the Pacific Theater. But this was cool. I'm glad I built it. I'm glad I won it. It's not something I ever would have bought on my own. I know that. Well, I know for a fact that the only kit out available in this right now is a Wingnut Wings, and that's an uber expensive kit. And this one looks good. I mean, it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, so it must be a chicken. But you know, so the only problem I did have early on, which was easy enough to fix, was the with the size of the wings. There was some issues with warping, but I was able to heat them with the heat gun and clamp them, and got them fairly straight. And once the two wings were glued together with the struts in them, they kind of forced each other straight. So it all works out. So with that, we're going to call this one done. I hope you enjoyed this build series, and we're going to be starting. Won't be starting anything new until November, because we'll be going to the Acme show in Atlanta next week. So I'm going to spend a couple of days cleaning up everything for that show, make sure everything's in tip-top shape. It should be, because I cleaned it all and put it before the St. Louis show, and it just all went straight back into the boxes. And so we won't be really starting anything until November. So until then, I want to say good morning, good evening, good night, depending on where you are in the world when you're watching this video. And we will see you on the next one. Bye.